Collapse. It is the only word that does justice to the spectacle of decay unfolding in Downing Street. 16 short months. That is all it took for Keir Starmer's government to descend from a historic majority into open, vicious warfare. While you were at work, while you were struggling with bills that never seemed to shrink, the people in charge of this United Kingdom were sharpening their knives. Not for our enemies. For each other. And now, their catastrophic, self-indulgent failure is about to land like a bomb in your bank account, and in the future of your children. The most chaotic, shambolic, humiliating budget process in living memory is unraveling before our very eyes. The pound in your pocket is weakening by the hour. On trading floors from London to Tokyo, the word uninvestable is being whispered. The cost of government borrowing, the nation's credit card, is spiking, adding billions to our national debt before a single policy is even announced. The entire world is watching this car crash in glorious, high-definition humiliation. And the question is no longer if they will break their solemn promises to the British people. The terrifying question now is, how long before their internal war for power drags the entire British economy down into the abyss with them? The state broadcaster will call it pre-budget jitters. The newspapers that endorse them will talk of robust internal debate. Do not, for 1 second, be fooled by these pathetic excuses. This is not a debate. This is a political nervous breakdown, broadcast live to the world. And it is a total disgrace. And it is not an accident. It is the inevitable, rotten fruit of a party that was never fit to govern. A party that papered over its deep, ideological cracks just long enough to fool the country. This is a calculated betrayal. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has just performed a screeching, tire-smoking, handbrake U-turn on her plan to hike income tax across the board. A manifesto pledge she was days away from shattering into a million pieces. Why the sudden change of heart? Not because she suddenly remembered the working people she claims to represent. No. It happened because Keir Starmer's chief rival, the perpetually smirking Health Secretary Wes Streeting, saw his moment. Leaks from inside Number 10 suggest a clumsy hit job was orchestrated to undermine him just days before, a pathetic attempt to clip his wings. But it backfired, spectacularly. Emboldened, feeling untouchable, he didn't just brief a friendly journalist. He went public, on the record, effectively declaring war on his own government and taking credit for the reversal. Insiders are in despair. They speak of a shambolic briefing process, run by Treasury Minister Torsten Bell, a man parachuted into a safe seat from a left-wing think tank, and Starmer's own chief of staff, the shadowy Morgan McSweeney. These are the unelected backroom boys, the apparatchiks who have never run a business, never met a payroll, playing fantasy politics with a real G7 economy. They thought they could bounce the country into a tax hike. They were wrong. And now the markets smell blood. Financial markets are not waiting for the official story. They see the truth. As one top CEO warned, this is exactly how credibility shocks begin. This isn't just chaos. It's a clear and present danger to our national finances. And so the Great Divide in Britain becomes a chasm. A brutal two-tier system, engineered by this decaying government. In their world, the insulated Westminster bubble, it's all a glorious game. Wes Streeting tours the radio studios, barely able to conceal his delight. He claims a victory for trust in politics while gleefully pouring petrol on the flames of his own party's implosion. He jokes about his leadership ambitions, quipping, "If you don't back yourself, who will?" while the pound slides on trading screens across the globe. He even has the audacity to claim he and the Prime Minister are in the same boat of frustration. A boat Starmer is captaining and Streeting is drilling holes in. After his interviews, sources say he returns to Westminster, to backslapping and whispered congratulations in the Commons bars. Meanwhile, Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy is sent out to tell the public, with a straight face, that the Chancellor is fiercely focused. It is an insult to our intelligence. It is a pantomime of power, and they are laughing at you. But in your world, the real world, the consequences of their game are immediate and brutal. Think of the senior nurse in Stoke, a single mother who worked double shifts to get a pay rise. She will now see it all eaten up as she's dragged into the 40p tax bracket by this government stealth raid. Her reward for healing the sick is to have her pockets picked by the state. Think of the self-employed plumber in Swindon. He'll see the cost of his business loans and his van finance creep up, because international investors no longer trust the British government to keep its word. The apprentice he was about to hire. He can't afford him now. Another young person's opportunity, gone. For the first time in history, a pensioner in a quiet Essex village, a man who did his national service, who has paid tax every day of his working life since he was 16, will now be forced to pay tax on his basic state pension. His reward for a lifetime of contribution. A bill from the very government that was supposed to protect him. Even a teenager on minimum wage, working their first job in Cardiff, will be pulled into the tax system, their first taste of work rewarded with a government hand in their pocket. Consider the young couple in a rented flat in Reading, who have saved for 5 years for a deposit. They finally had enough. They were ready. But in the space of 72 hours of this political chaos, the mortgage markets have panicked. The interest rates on the deals they could afford have vanished overnight. Their dream, snatched away. Not by a global crisis, but by the egos of Westminster. They are fighting for power and position. You are fighting to heat your home and feed your family. That is the unforgivable reality of Starmer's Britain. At the rotten core of this national humiliation sits the Prime Minister. Sir Keir Starmer. The man who paraded into number 10 just 16 months ago promising stability, competence, and an end to the drama. He has delivered the polar opposite. He is a leader in name only. A hologram projected into the cabinet room. A ghost haunting the corridors of power, rattling his own chains. Weak, hesitant, and visibly terrified. A man so utterly out of his depth that he cannot control his chancellor, cannot silence his chief rival, and cannot even fire his own chief of staff for orchestrating a botched political assassination. He is not captain of the ship, he is lashed to the mast, a passenger on his own doomed voyage, and his authority is evaporating with every passing hour. His chancellor, Rachel Reeves, is his willing accomplice in this farce. She stood before the nation just days ago, her face grim, warning that everyone would have to contribute. A chilling threat, universally understood as a declaration of intent to raise taxes on working people. Her ironclad fiscal rules, the very foundation of her supposed credibility, have been exposed as flimsy stage props in a cheap political theater. Now, panicked and exposed by the infighting, she is desperately scrambling for a plan B. And that plan is pure, unadulterated deception. A smorgasbord of stealth taxes. A cynical freeze on tax thresholds, a policy so toxic it was dubbed a stealth raid for years. It is a fiscal dragnet, designed to quietly pull millions of ordinary Britons into higher tax brackets without her ever having to admit she broke her promise. It is a liar's budget, drafted by a coward, so convoluted that insiders say she had 2 versions written, one that broke the manifesto openly, and one that did it by stealth. The irony is sickening. Government officials admit a new budget board was set up, chaired by the now implicated Torsten Bell, specifically to make the process more orderly. You could not make it up. This isn't a government. It's a circular firing squad. And the British people are standing in the middle, being used for target practice. And while this civil war consumes the party of government, a deafening silence comes from the official opposition, who seem content to watch the country burn. But outside the bubble, other voices are getting louder. Voices they have tried to silence for years. The voices of common-sense patriots like Nigel Farage, who warned this would happen. Who warned that a party built on internal contradictions and a deceitful prospectus would inevitably collapse under the weight of its own lies. Even Labour's favourite think tank, the Resolution Foundation, has sounded the alarm, calling the public chaos not normal. When your own cheerleaders are warning you're damaging the country, you know the game is up. The people are beginning to listen. They are starting to realize that the real opposition isn't in Parliament. It's in the pubs, the workplaces, and the communities of this great nation. This looming budget is no longer an economic statement. It is a moment of truth for Britain. It is a test of survival. Theirs, and ours. In 16 calamitous months, they have shown you exactly who they are. A nest of vipers. A collection of self-serving careerists, fighting over the spoils of office while the country they are meant to serve slides towards recession and ridicule. They have broken your trust. They are now plotting, in secret, how best to break your bank balance to cover for their own incompetence. So you have to ask yourself some hard questions. Do you trust this chaotic, collapsing party with your family's financial future? Are you prepared to have your pension, your savings, your children's future, sacrificed on the altar of their ambition? Are you content to be poorer, just so West Streeting can get one over on Keir Starmer? Do you honestly believe a government at war with itself, consumed by ego, can possibly govern for the people of Britain? Are you willing to stand by and let them turn our great nation into a global laughingstock, a high-tax, low-growth basket case, just so they can settle their pathetic internal scores? If you believe this betrayal is unforgivable, if you refuse to let them bankrupt our country to feed their own egos, then you cannot afford to stay silent. Share this video. Send it to your friends, your family, your colleagues. Let them know the truth behind the headlines. The Westminster elite, the media cheerleaders, the entire rotten establishment wants you quiet, confused, and afraid. They want you to believe this is normal. It is not. It is a national disgrace. This is not politics anymore. This is a rescue mission. A mission to save the British economy from the very people elected to manage it. It is time to get loud. It is time to show them we are watching, and we have had enough. Subscribe to this channel, and join the Great British Fight Back, before it's too late.